Why don't adults feel comfortable talking about sex with their teens?
Because you're going to experience. So, young people are saying they're going to have sex, pretty much, is what they're saying. They're going to have sex, they've had sex, you see it everywhere. So, why and if you are uncomfortable, why are we so uncomfortable talking about sex? Guess what? Because you've had sex, because you have children, right? You've had sex, so why are you so uncomfortable with talking about sex? Nobody wants to touch that one?
That's not the case at my house. Like, I think we have to normalize it, and this managing up is like the thing. I think you have to push the conversation. I mean, I'll let someone else speak to it in their own homes, but I get accused of talking about it too much because I'm trying to normalize it. It hasn't worked. No one's opened up to me yet. But I feel like we've got to normalize the conversation because our generation, like, well, I'm older than you all, but no one talked about it. Like, no one talked about it. It was not talked about. And so we're trying to figure it out. How do we create a space where it is safe for you to come and talk about it? I mean, my kids don't like it. So we're figuring this out. I think we've got to talk about it. And so at your own home, it's like, can you bring it up? Can you manage up again and like talk about it?
Not just about the act of sex, and we talking about all the things that come along with that. So the act of it, sure, like it's biology, man, woman, seed, egg, baby's made. But we know as adults, it's way bigger than just the biology of it all. It's the feelings, it's the emotional, it's the connection, right? So can we talk about the whole scope of sex with you all? Depending on who says something about maturity or being responsible for what you share, it's a range of how that conversation can happen based on how old you are, based on how mature you are. And so at 12, we're gonna talk about the birds and the bees, the lions and the lioness, and we're gonna talk about it so it makes sense. But at 16, 17, you done already dibbled and dabbled already. We got a lot to talk about. We got some real things that can happen when we talk about engaging in that act. And the reality of it all is that we gauge your maturity based off what data you've given us to say you're mature enough to handle a certain thing. So if you've never shown us that you're responsible, mature, and emotionally intelligent enough to deal with active sex, it can be a very weird space to be in as a parent to figure out how to talk about this in a way that it connect with you where you are right now in your life.
To follow up with that, and I'm gonna ask that question afterwards, but to follow up with that, so if, let's say your 12-year-old son comes to you and he's like, Dad, I met this girl, blah, blah, this and that, we've been talking for a little bit, she wants me to come over, blah, blah, this and that. Now, what if you tell him, you trust him, and he go over there, he come back and hit you with the, Dad, I just did it. How would you respond to that?
Did you guys, so somebody saying Pops is going to be proud. I don't know, so that's what society, you feel that society feel that any dad will be proud that their 12-year-old is having sex.
It's like I have male figures in my life, like uncles, granddad, but like I come home, like I don't tell them that. So like if I was to come home to my mom, how would she react? How would I feel comfortable enough? I feel like it's a space that's open enough to tell my mom because you don't have that male figure. So I want to ask you women, how do you make that space comfortable enough for your son to openly come up and tell you about something like that?
But you can go ahead and follow up.
So my response is going to be really, this is my true feelings, right? Like, it all depends on what conversations I've had with my 12-year-old before he got to 12. Right. If I've never talked to him about that sex, and he goes over there and sex happens, I'm gonna have some initial feelings of being like, damn, I dropped the ball. Like, I should have did my part to talk to my son about what he was feeling and experiencing even before he went to that young lady's house. So I didn't set him up for success. So on my part, I gotta own that. I can still feel disappointed, I can feel sad, I can even still feel upset, but I gotta take responsibility for what I didn't do to set my son up. And I can do all those same things. And my 12-year-old would still decide to go over there and be in a situation where sex happens. And then I gotta talk about that. How'd that happen? Who made the first move? Did you have an out? Did you want it to happen? Did you feel pressure? Did you like it? right? Like, what did you feel? Because now, once that we know as adults, once that box is open, it's kind of like we got to deal with all the things that come along with it. So I do think it really depends on what has been said and done up until that point, and then you take accountability for where you fall in that range of conversations with your young person.
So now you want us to hear from your mom. Do you want him to repeat the question? Yeah. Repeat the question.
How would I approach my mom or feel comfortable enough to tell my mom something like that?
Like my stomach is in knots, right? Well, I only have one son, and he's like always been curious and asked questions, right? So he asked me about sex at the age of like 7. Like, he was like 7 when he asked me, you know, and it was more about protection, like, what? You know, so we kind of had the conversation early, even about condoms, because that's what he was asking me about. I said, good, go get that drop it off. He was like 7, but he may have been the one that said, hey, that's what happened. And I'm like, he's like, no, man. I'm like, no. But I've just, you know what? I've just always taken the approach that it's real and it's gonna happen. I had to think about myself when I was younger and when I was their age. So even my daughters, I even talked to them before I even thought that they were even ready for sex. So much so that when my daughter told me she was, like, I had a panic attack. Like when she actually came to me and told me she was ready for birth control, I was like, what? Like, but I'm the one who told her to do that. So that just goes to show we're not always ready. Even if we say it, we still have that fear. Sometimes we just don't know what to do. We don't know how to say it. And yeah, and I guess it depends on what type of relationship you have with your parent to make you comfortable enough to come to them. Because I had an authoritarian parent. My mom was like, do this, how I said it. If I said it go right, it's right. She was never wrong. So I never had that opportunity to go to my mom and talk about things. I had someone else to go to, but I never had. So therefore, I always said I didn't want to. Not to say that I didn't do it, but I didn't want to have that door closed for my children. I wanted them to be able to come to me. So I tried. Don't know what happened, but something happened at the age of 7. And he was okay with coming to me. But sometimes it's just hard, and you don't know. And yes, it is. It's weird. And